Well, as I said, throw away your resume, number 3. Now, you know what I really mean by that. Now, this is number 4, and this will be helpful as a way of contrasting what I meant. One time a gentleman came to me. In fact, it's happened on a number of occasions, and he had a sad story. It was this story. Stan, my resume's terrible. And unfortunately, everybody who hands in a resume has a good one. By the way, that's why one CEO said that he doesn't pay much attention to resumes. He says, because I've never gotten a bad one. They're all coached. They all know the right words. I know it's going to be great, and it doesn't tell me anything that I really need to know because they've all been coached and made good and great. So I need to know more. Now that was just an honest confession from a CEO of a very successful company as to why the resume was not terribly helpful to him. But again, we have to go through that. This man said to me, Stan, I've been out of work for 2 years. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've gone through a very bad divorce because of the alcoholism. My resume is never going to get me in the door. What am I going to do? I'm going to be unemployed the rest of my life? So let's try something different. And here's what I recommended. I said, fine, put together the resume as best you can. But it's short, sweet, to the point. But I want you to go and get a piece of cardstock, and I want you to simply say, this is my story. Put your name up there. His name was Rick. Rick. Then his last name, and it simply said, this is my story. And you know how he began? It says, my name is Rick. I'm an alcoholic. Just like what they say in what? AA. I'm proud to tell you that I have now been sober for 9 years. And I'm very grateful for all those people who've kept me sober and made my life worthwhile once again. Wow. Right off the bat. He then went on to say, and during that time I made a lot of bad choices. And I made some mistakes. I've learned from those mistakes. In fact, it has made me a much more sympathetic and empathic person because I realize just how badly life can go wrong. And now what I'm hoping is that you will discover in my story some of the things that might help me to help you make a success of your business. It was on a nice little piece of cardstock, and then he actually went into, and I'm going to tell you in the next section, 4 things that he included in his story card. All right? 4 things that he included in his story card. Now, this is not an official document that goes in, but it's the kind of thing that he could give to people in a relationship, people who were looking out for him, people who were trying to help him. It was something that he could honestly give to people that demonstrated who he was and how he might be helpful. And you know what happened? That's all he took to a job fair. He said, he got about 20 of them printed up, and like I said, they were on a nice piece of cardstock. It was like a, something almost like a brochure, a little smaller. And then he went to people and said, my name is Stan Houston. No, my name is Rick. And he said, I would love to be considered for an opportunity with your company. Would you be kind enough to look at my story? That's all he said. He gave it to a gentleman at a car dealership. The guy started reading through it. He read it a little further. He put it down, took off his glasses, and said, Rick, you're hired. He said, you know what? Rick, I'm an alcoholic. And you have the courage enough to admit it. And you know what? I can see some of the things that are there, that you're right. You're trying to help me build a better car dealership. And you're honest, and you're forthright, and you'll tell the truth, and that's exactly the kind of men and women I want in my dealership. Call the general manager and tell him to put you in the next training program, and I'm looking forward to you helping our Lexus dealership be one of the best. No resume, because it would have been a terrible resume. It was simply that he told his story. And in telling your story, you might find there's great power in that. And so I'm going to teach you that there are things about your story and your story card that might be even more helpful than your resume. Tell your story. And that'll be next on some of the things you need to include in that story.